So welcome to the September edition of the Business Swansea Business Power Hour. So after the summer break, we're back. We ran a session on cybersecurity probably about 18 months or so ago now. It was the first session that we ran. But clearly this is an ever-evolving topic, so I think it's worth putting in the diary again, just to make sure that businesses are on top of the threat that exists forevermore, really. It's very easy to say that I would never be the victim of that, but clearly people are, and I'm sure that we'll discuss that. So we'll run through a short presentation and then maybe pick up a couple of discussion points towards the end. Paul is here from the Cyber Resilience Centre for Wales. So Paul, I'll hand across to you now to run through the quick presentation, and as we can pick up the discussion subsequently at the end.
There you are. Thank you for that. Thanks, Matt. Thanks, Stephen, as well. Just give me 2 seconds. Just going to share my screen. You just confirm, Matt, can you see my PowerPoint?
I can indeed,
yeah.
Yeah.
There you are.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. My name is Paul Hall. I'm a detective inspector with South Wales Police. I'm currently on secondment as my full-time role within policing to the Cyber Resilience Centre for Wales. I'll go through at the end of the presentation a bit more about the Cyber Resilience Centre for Wales, but what it is, it's a police-led organisation which is basically there to support small medium enterprises in trying to make them more resilient against the potential threat of cybercrime. So the aim of the presentation today is just to give you an understanding of the risk and the current landscape around what could be a form of a cyber attack, the simple steps you can take to make yourselves a bit more resilient before becoming a victim of a cyber attack, and where you can go for guidance and support and how we as a police service would like to communicate with you on a long-term basis. So the reason we're here today really is because cybercrime is on the increase. Last year alone, 3.1 billion was lost to fraud and cybercrime in Wales alone. And when we bear in mind, cybercrime is also an underreported crime, so that figure would probably be a lot higher if everyone reported the cybercrime as well. An average cost of a cyber attack to a business is approximately 4,200. And when a survey has been done in businesses in the UK, 39% of them identified they've been attacked and a breach has occurred. The most common form of attack is via a phishing message, if it's a text message or an email, and 83% of these cyber attacks have come from the form of a phishing attack. I'll go into a bit more detail in relation to what phishing is a little bit later on in the presentation. So on the screen in front of us here, it's just a couple of incidents that happen across the world really in relation to cybercrime. One there, the Irish Health Service was targeted twice by hackers, causing massive disruption to the health service in Ireland. Appointments are cancelled, operations are cancelled, payment of staff was obviously affected, really caused a lot of disruption to the Irish Health Service. Top right refers to an individual by the name of Daniel Kelly, who was an 18-year-old boy from Llanelli, who hacked into first his college account, his college in Llanelli, and then successfully hacked into TalkTalk, one of the major communication providers. We've seen another one close to home as well, where the Welsh Language Commissioner's Office was also attacked. And the one at the bottom of the screen there refers to American Oil Pipeline Organization, who suffered a ransom attack in 2021, where they handed over $4.4 million to the cyber criminal in order to have their information passed back to them. This attack happened as a result of a compromised password, and a little bit later on we'll discuss passwords in a little bit more detail. So looking at those issues there, one of the things we certainly come across as a police service really is when we engage with people They will often say, we won't get attacked. Why would anyone want to attack me? I may be a sole trader. I may be a micro organization or just employ 10 people. I've got nothing of value. Why would I get targeted? The majority of cyber attacks are done en masse, where they will target numerous people in one hit. So anyone, including yourselves in their personal lives, yourself as an organization, can also be targeted. So it's important that you take on board the threat of that you could become a target of cyber attack. And we hope in today's presentation will assist you then in not becoming a victim. So why does it matter? The majority of cybercrime is a precursor for fraud-related offence. So a lot of money can be taken away from you. So it's important that you report any kind of cyber attacks to us. And ultimately, we can record it then as a cyber-enabled fraud offence. The impact this can have also to reputation of your business if it becomes out in the public domain that you become a victim of a cyber attack. This could have an impact or negative impact on your suppliers, on your customers, if they think you potentially could be an unreliable organisation who may hold personal data about your customers or suppliers, and they may affect them if they want to go and trade and work with you in the future. Business continuity, if you've been a victim of a cyber attack and all your data and information is removed from you or encrypted so you can't access it, this could have an impact on you. You could be out of business for 4 or 5, maybe sometimes up to 2 to 3 weeks before you get your business back up and running. Can you afford to be out of business for that long? Look how many customers and business you might lose as a result of not being able to have that business continuity. And ultimately, it will come at financial cost to you. If you've been targeted by a cyber criminal who successfully takes away all your information, they may very well put a demand in to you to say, if you want all your information back, you can have it back, but it can come at a financial cost to you. So again, a big impact on a business. So why is it really important? I always refer to this quote from Daniel Kelly. If you remember, Daniel was an 18-year-old boy from Llanelli who hacked into his college, but he also hacked into TalkTalk. He was sentenced to prison, and on his release from prison, he made a quote, and this is a quote he made. If people followed the basic security precautions available today and actually used them effectively, then I would not have been able to do what I did. So what he's basically saying, he's a trained, he's a hacker, a skilled hacker, who's basically hacked into several organizations. But if members of staff there are just taking basic security precautions, he would not have been able to do what he did. And what we're going to do throughout this presentation really is just take you through taking those basic security measures you can put in place with a new organization to prevent you from being a victim. So what are the main threats to a business? We spoke about phishing emails, and we'll go into a bit more detail about that later on. Ransomware, we'll touch on that a little bit more in depth a little bit later on. Malware is a term that's often used. It's a term referring to malicious software. So it could be when a file or code delivered over a network that potentially infects or exploits systems and steals data from there. Data theft is a term to describe the stealing of data which could be sensitive or important, specific to an organization. A DDoS is a distributed denial of service. So it could be when a cyber criminal floods a server with internet traffic, preventing users from accessing certain things like online services. So the way it's been explained to me what a DDoS attack could look like is if you just think you own a shop maybe in the high street and you get targeted by about 30 people. You have 5 or 6 people come into the shop bombarding you with requests. You'll have 2 or 3 people standing on the doorstep preventing customers coming in, and it might have another couple of people outside and putting people off from coming inside, all trying to disrupt you as a business and affect your business continuity. So phishing. So phishing is a term that's used really to describe what I would say as a bogus message. It can come in different forms. It can come in text messages, but the most common form is also in an email. Okay, this has probably been the biggest threat to individuals, to an organization for the past 5 to 10 years, and this threat is not going to go away. So it's important you understand how you can identify what a phishing message or phishing email is, and what you can do when you receive one. So as a business, as an individual, as someone who works in a police service, I receive a lot of emails from my works account and also through my private life as well. So there's a scale here that people on average get about 121 emails received a day. Bear in mind, a lot of them could be seen as phishing or spam emails, and they may go straight to your spam folder. But what is a little bit more scary is that about 30% of phishing emails are actually opened. Phishing emails used to be very, very basic before, but they have become far more sophisticated than they once were. We've even come across some that have been translated into the Welsh language as well. So as I said, there's different forms of phishing. Spam phishing is basically when emails are sent out en masse to several different people. It could be thousands of different businesses or individuals in one hit. And all that cyber criminal wants, they all need is 1% to do something in relation to those phishing emails, and that's them making a large amount of money potentially. Spear phishing is a little bit more targeted, as well as social media phishing, where someone could do a little bit more research on the internet, on social media, about a particular person or particular organization, and try and target you by looking at what kind of business you do and trying to approach you, pretending if you, for argument's sake, you you own a pub. You could have someone pretending to sell liquor, wine, beer, and they will try to target you that way by trying to offer you deals, discounted deals, which are probably too good to be true. Postal phishing is when we get things through the post. Obviously, it's on the decline, but still does exist. And smishing is probably a reference to bogus messages coming through to you on a text message. We all get them. I get them quite a bit. The most common one at the moment is in relation to delivery companies. I've just been to your home address. I've gone to deliver something. You haven't been there. Please click on this. Well, I haven't even ordered anything, so why are you telling me to click on this? A lot of these phishing emails, phishing messages are all about you trying to encourage you to click an attachment, go to another website from that email, which could give the cyber criminal the opportunity to put malicious software onto your systems and try and target you that way. This is just an example of what to look out for really on an email when it comes through to you, okay? So the first one is that attachment. Obviously, this is in relation to someone who's trying to deliver a parcel to you and they've missed you. Why do you have to download a shipping label? Why can't they give you that information then? What? So you could just ask yourself the question, why are you telling me to download something? If there's something in that information, why can't you put that in the body of that email or that message? If you hover sometimes over the email address at the top here, it says customer service at UPS, it will sometimes reveal the true identity of that email address. So the first one does look as if it could be a genuine email address, but when you hover over it, it can come up as something totally random. Looking for the times the emails are received. So would someone be sending something out to you at 4 o'clock in the morning from a UK company? Just bear that in mind. Dear customer, you know, if you are a customer, if you've ordered something, you would have to give your name and address. They should know your name and they should know your name and refer to you by your name and not refer to you as dear customer. And again, at the bottom here, they haven't signed it with any specific name whatsoever, okay? Obviously, as I said to you before, some of these phishing emails have become a bit more sophisticated. Certainly previously, there used to be really poor grammar, really poor spelling, but they are becoming much better. But just ask yourself the question, if you've never heard of an organization, if you've never heard of a person, why are you asking me to click on something or download something, okay? If you do come across one of these phishing emails, you can report it at phishing.gov.uk, which is a government website, which will examine the email address, and what they can do then, they can take that email address down so it can't be used in the future. Similar to text messages, they can be forwarded on free of charge to 7726, and they perform the same function then. If you lose any kind of money, you can report this to Action Fraud. So if you have become a victim of a fraud, you're going to report it to Action Fraud. So Action Fraud are a police organisation that represent all of policing in the UK. And if you are a victim, they will collect that information, and then they will then transfer it then to the individual police force where the victim resides. Okay. A term I used earlier on was ransomware. This is obviously quite a popular term that's used now. So especially if you just break it up into 2 words. So ransom is a demand for something in exchange for the release of someone or something that has been captured. And then malicious software is that what we described earlier, something that's designed to damage your computer systems or steal data. So there's basic steps you can take to protect your business. We'll go through these in a bit more detail. So we'll go through passwords. You're recognizing phishing emails and making sure not just yourself, but also all your staff have got awareness of your phishing emails. Utilizing antivirus and patching, looking after your devices, backing up your data, and becoming a free member of the Cyber Resilience Centre for Wales. So passwords, it's really important that when you use a password, it's not unique to yourself. So I give you an example. Swansea 1 is not a strong password in the slightest. That's something that could potentially be guessed. Okay, you've got to be careful sometimes what you use as a footprint on social media. There's a lot of time you will come across sometimes people asking for information as part of a quiz or part of a survey. And a lot of the times it could be around your favorite dog, the school you went to, your favorite color. All these things are historically something that people use as a password. So it's a way of people trying to guess what someone's password is. So just be careful what you put on social media, and more importantly, making sure that your password is not something that can be easily guessed. There's a short video here now regarding how people can easily give away their passwords.
You know, we've been hearing a lot about cybersecurity lately, largely because of what happened to Sony. Companies and individuals are more concerned about the safety and privacy of their information than ever. President Obama has unveiled a number of new proposals this week to crack down on hackers, and he plans to address this in the State of the Union speech on Tuesday. And it's great that the government is working on this, but the truth of the matter is we need to do a better job of protecting ourselves. You know, the most popular password in the United States is password 123. And as long as that's the case, we're vulnerable. So today we sent a camera out on the Hollywood Boulevard to help people by asking them to tell us their password. And this is how that went.
We're talking about cybersecurity today and how safe people's passwords are. What is one of your online passwords currently?
It is my dog's name and the year I graduated from high school.
Oh, what kind of dog do you have?
I have a Chihuahua Papillon.
And what's its name?
Jameson.
Jameson. And where'd you go to school?
I went to school back in Greensburg, Pennsylvania.
What school?
Hempfield Area Senior High School.
Oh, when did you graduate?
In 2009.
Oh, great.
It's like my cat's name and then just like a random number.
Okay.
But,
Have you had this cat for a while?
yeah, she's my childhood pet.
Aw. And what's her name?
Her name is Jolie.
Jolie.
Mm-hmm.
So like a password of yours would be Jolie and then a number.
Yeah.
Like number 1?
Like my birthday.
Oh, when is your birthday?
June 12th.
Oh, nice. And what year were you born?
95.
Oh, great. So Jolie 61295.
Yes.
Got it.
So you mean to give my password right now? No, I cannot do that.
But we all want to know what it is so we can tell you if it's strong or not.
Oh my goodness. Let me think. Okay, one is Tel Aviv. Yeah. 468, and then Israel. It's only 3, but it's for me it's strong enough.
Ireland 1 2 3 4. Gemma 1 2 3. Spelled Gemma.
Well, most of them are Italian.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah.
Like
so
what? Like what's a good Italian password?
my grandma's name.
What's your grandma's name?
Maria.
Maria. So Maria is your password?
Oh yeah, now you know my password. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, the important thing is they
Okay, so literally that just shows that if someone's walking down the high street with a microphone, pretending to be someone, they could quite easily give up someone confidence to give their password away quite easily. I like to think most people wouldn't do that, but that's how, if you just imagine what people are putting information on social media, then it could quite easily be guessed. So this next little table here just shows really the benefits of having a good, strong password and how long it could potentially be taken to be hacked as well. So a hacker can use like a brute force attack to guess someone's password, and that could be just by putting in a combination of letters, numbers into a computer system, and it could be able to retrieve someone's password. So if you look at something that's 8 letters only, which is all lowercase, this can be guessed instantly. Okay. If you put in a couple of letters, numbers, lowercase, this can take it up to several minutes. And if you put in some special symbols as well, it can take it up to 39 minutes, okay, which is not long at all. But as you can see, if the further down the table goes, the longer your password, so the more characters it's got, the more numbers, lowercase letters, uppercase, and special symbols, it can take years, weeks, billion years, trillion years, so for someone to guess your password. So this really emphasizes the importance of having good, strong passwords, okay? Ultimately, a lot of these cyber criminals, if they can't get your password straight away, they'll just move on to the next victim and move on to the next victim, okay? Rather than repeatedly targeting you over a 6, 9, 10 month period of time, okay? But again, it depends. If you've got a big contract with a large organization, they could use you as a weak link and try and target that large organization via your business. So it's important we all use strong passwords. The National Cybersecurity Centre, which is a government agency, recommends utilising 3 random words. The example they've got here now is hashtag Humpty monitor headphones. I'm putting in some numbers in there as well and some special characteristics, making it difficult for anyone to link that password to you and to guess it. You may be thinking, if you're anything like myself, it's quite difficult to memorize all these different passwords. This is where a password manager can assist. A password manager is a bit like a vault where it will keep all your passwords and they will all be encrypted once they're in that password manager. And then when you want to utilize that password, it will release the password over then into that specific site. The good thing about a password manager is it will recognize if the site is a trustworthy site or if it's a bogus site. So if you have had an email from Amazon and you may have an account with Amazon, for example, they may ask you to log in. Okay, now as soon as you start logging in, the password manager will identify if it's the correct Amazon site. If it is, it will release the password. Okay, if it's not the correct Amazon site and it's from like a phishing email pretending to be Amazon, the password manager will recognize this and will not release your password into the password into that email, so nobody will be able to see what you've typed into typing it in as a password. So it's a really important tool to use, a password manager. Have I been pwned? This is a site that can be used to see if there's been any kind of breach on your emails accounts. So if you type in your email into your email address on have I been pwned, it will show if there's been any kind of data breaches. And if there has been any kind of data breach, it's really, really important to find out where that data breach has come from, which it could be like an app you've used or something, and making sure you change your password straight away on wherever the breach has come from. Multi-factor authentication, a really important tool. So this is basically when you want to log on to a device, a message is generally sent to another device, such as a phone, and you've got to authorize the fact that you're trying to log on. If you're using any kind of online financial transaction, you're going to have to authorize it via a separate device, such as a mobile phone. So basically, if a cyber criminal is based in Manchester, based in overseas, unless they've got access to your phone, they will not be able to get into your accounts. They may know your password, but unless it's been approved and verified by your mobile phone, they're not going to be able to do that. So this is a really important thing to consider using. It will literally just take you 2 seconds each time you log in to do it, no more than that. It's just a click of a button generally, and you can log in, and with that peace of mind that nobody else will be able to log in unless they've got access to your phone as well. Antivirus patching. So it's important first and foremost to make sure that we've got it installed onto your systems. Making sure you yourself and also your staff as well are not downloading or going to any websites from untrusted sources really. So it's really important to educate yourself, educate your staff in relation to that. Keeping all your IT equipment up to date. This can sometimes be a little bit of a pain. People always think, oh, I could do this update and it could take 10 minutes to do. But generally what happens, large organizations like Microsoft, Norton Antivirus, have got internal hackers working for them, and they're constantly trying to test their systems. And as soon as they identify a vulnerability or an issue, they will literally send out an update to be installed onto your computer, which will overcome that vulnerability that they've been tested. So it's really important that when you get those updates to do on your phone, on your computer, you're making sure you're doing it, okay? Making sure you've got control of USB drives, who's putting what into your computer, who's using what is really important, okay? Also switching on any kind of firewalls you've got as well. Device security, making sure you're using the password protection, certainly on your phone and obviously on your computer as well. So no one can come along and just access your computer straight away. There's always utilizing a password. If you lose any kind of device, you've got the opportunity to have it tracked, and you can also lock it remotely and have any information on there. You can obviously remotely wipe it as well. Keeping your devices up to date, which is similar to what we mentioned earlier, and your applications as well. And don't connect to any unknown Wi-Fi hotspots, okay? So we'll find Wi-Fi everywhere. People, certainly since COVID, are working a lot more remotely from home, but they're also working, sometimes they might go to a coffee, and they might be connecting to Wi-Fi maybe in a coffee house, making sure that you are actually connecting to the correct Wi-Fi, and not someone pretending to be maybe Costa Coffee Wi-Fi, making you are actually connecting to the proper one. But the most important thing I will also get across, if you're doing anything with sensitive information, or you're doing anything with anything like online banking, it's far more secure to use maybe a 4G connection than any kind of Wi-Fi, public Wi-Fi. Backing up your information, again, this is really important. There's a couple of different forms of backup. You can use a cloud backup, or you can use maybe an external hard drive. You know, that's a preference for you as an individual, really. They've both got their benefits. They've both got sometimes they disadvantages, but it's really important that you do actually use a backup, and you know what that backup is, and you also know how to install that backup if something ever happens to your systems. The benefit of having a good backup in place is that scenario really, if you ever become a victim of a ransomware attack. So you could come into work tomorrow morning, and all of a sudden you will have on your screen a message saying, we've hacked into your accounts, we've encrypted all your information, you can't access anything unless you contact us and pay us X amount of money. Okay, as a police service, we'll always say, do not pay anyone for a ransomware demand. Okay, you don't pay it, because ultimately you do not know if you pay that £1,000, will you have that information back, or it could be £1,000 a day, but that could quite easily go up to £3,000 once they know that you're willing to pay something. So we will always say, don't pay it. However, I know people in my own family who've got businesses who rely on the information they got stored on their business, on their computers, to making sure that they can continue trading as a business. This becomes a real ethical dilemma for you. Do you pay it or don't you pay it? Okay. Now, if you've got a backup system in place, it can take away that pressure, that dilemma, because ultimately you've got that information, and you just install out your backup and you can continue trading. Okay. So that's a benefit really of having a good backup system in place. Okay, and the final thing is really about us as a Cyber Resilience Centre for Wales and what we can do to try and assist you in becoming a bit more resilient against becoming a victim of a cyber attack. So who we are, as I said, we are police-led. The Cyber Resilience Centre for Wales consists of myself, an Inspector of South Wales Police, and also my colleague Paul Peters, who is a Detective Superintendent, also with South Wales Police. But we do cover the whole of Wales. Our main focus is on small, medium enterprises, micro businesses, third sector, voluntary sector, and we're focusing on them to make them as best we can, to make them aware of the threat of cybercrime, what simple measures they can do, and how we can communicate with you to give you up-to-date information regarding current threats. We are supported by Welsh University students as well. We've currently got 10 Welsh students who are all studying either a master's or PhD or degree in cybersecurity. These are really potential high talent for the future, really, and we give them the opportunity to engage with businesses and give them our business an opportunity to have an extra service given to them by a skilled person who can perform certain tasks for them. We are supported by the 4 Welsh forces. Obviously, I'm a South Wales police officer, but we closely work alongside Gwent, Dyfed-Powys and North Wales Police as well. We are supported by the Welsh IASME certification bodies, and we've got 9 what we refer to as trusted partners. So if a business comes to us and they feel they want to go to another step up the ladder in relation to paid cybersecurity, we can signpost them then to one of our trusted partners who all come under the IASME certification bodies. We, as a Cyber Resilience Centre, are part of a network of 9 across the UK. So we work closely with our colleagues, and we're passing on information regarding new trends and just trying on new trends of cyber crime and ways of how we can prevent that attack from happening, and getting that message out then to the communities, the business communities within Wales. What we give is, first and foremost, free core membership. Okay, so that is basically going to be, you have like an information pack when you join us. It's what I've discussed today now, but in much more detail. You can go through it in your own pace. You can go through in bite-sized chunks. Okay, what we also give is a monthly newsletter as well, which can reinforce key messages. It can offer you the latest guidance as well, but it can also identify to you new trends of cybercrime. So if something happens in another part of the UK, and we think, oh, this could be a new trend of a cyber attack, we can get that message out to you as well then. But we're also looking at it from a two-way thing, really. We're also looking at communication from yourselves as well. So if you become a victim and if you become a target, and it may be a cyber attack that you never come across before, we would like to hear about that then. Okay, so we can educate others in relation to it. We will not name you by your name as a business. We will just refer to you as a Welsh business has come across this. Depending on the size of the organisation, we also have got community ambassador membership as well, which just gives additional benefits to different business needs of a business. So we can do joint webinars with you. We can do different events with you to assist you and your clients in relation to becoming a bit more aware of the threat of cybercrime. We mentioned earlier about our student services and working with the Welsh students. They can provide several different services, but they generally categorized into open source intelligence work, conducting vulnerability assessments, doing policy reviews, and coming out or doing online security awareness training as well. We also do blogs, which we send out on a regular basis, and these are just a sample of some of the blogs we do. It's all about trying to educate you with things that can protect you as a business, and also things that will protect you in your private, in your personal lives as well, not just for yourself, for your staff as well. So here are just a couple of useful addresses. The first one is our website, so the Welsh Cyber Resilience Centre. The next one is the National Cyber Security Centre website, where you can get a lot of information from as well. As I said, we work with the full Welsh forces, but we also work with the regional organised crime units as well, who will all have a cyber crime department as well. The one for South Wales is, Southern Wales is Tavian. And if it's in North Wales, it'd be the North Wales ROCU then, okay? So, as I said, you've had the opportunity to listen to this presentation now. My details, include my email address, are there then. As I said, we're very much focused in trying to enhance our membership, so we can regularly communicate then with the business community regarding the current threat of cybercrime and how we can just keep you updated throughout the course of the year and into the future, really, regarding cybercrime and how we can be more resilient. So that's the end of my presentation. But if you've got any questions or anything like that, please drop me an email and I'll obviously get back to you as soon as I possibly can. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, Paul. Lots to think about there. Certainly elements of my sort of day-to-day work life and personal life that I recognise in there. Not least of all the SMS. Was it smishing? I think that's a new term on me. I must get 1 or 2 texts per month from would-be delivery companies. And like you say, it's fine if you're not expecting a delivery, but if it happens to be on a day that you are, it's all too easy to click on that link, isn't it, and go for it. I think one of the things that I recognise as being suspicious about that is it tends to be from a mobile number, an 07 whatever number, and I always sort of, that flags to me as being something that a delivery company probably wouldn't use. But you've only got to fall victim to it once, haven't you, of the 100 times that you get it.
And that's it. And that in itself is a vulnerability. They're bombarding people with these messages. And as I said, they're only looking for 1% to do something. And that's them potentially making quite a bit of money that day, you know. And the common one at the moment is delivery companies. We are starting to see quite a lot around energy companies contacting you, certainly in the present climate. So that's going to be here for the foreseeable future, I think. But who knows what's going to be in 3 or 4 months, really. And that's why it's important for us to get that newsletter out, really. So it could be something else we identify quite soon. And it's an opportunity to us to have that rare communication and with Welsh businesses. Yeah, certainly. With regard to the ransomware, obviously I understand your advice that, you know, the guidance is that you should never respond to those ransomware attacks, and you spoke about the moral dilemma that exists around that. Where someone does decide to
sort of pay that ransom, what's the likelihood of them getting that data back in reality? Is there sort of obviously instances where they pay the money and then still don't get anything back at all?
Yeah, that clearly does happen. People pay that money back and they don't get the money and they don't get the data back at all. That does happen. However, what I will say is, well, sometimes they do get the data back, you know, but you can't literally. The problem is the people who get the data back, they don't report it to the police anyway. So I can't give you any like percentages of how many people pay it and get it back or don't get it back. I can't give you any accurate, because the ones who get it back probably don't report it to the police, if I'm honest. But ultimately, you're dealing with a criminal here. It is a dilemma. I'm not disputing that for 1 second, but that's one of the benefits of having that backup system in place. Really, you can take away that dilemma of being in a very, very difficult place. To be honest, you know, it's a really bad place to be in. And we've come across a lot of businesses who rely heavily on information and data, and the thought of them not having access to it for maybe a week or 2 weeks, that can cause a lot of disruption to them, you know. So it just takes away that little bit of a dilemma. But ultimately, it is a dilemma. But having that backup system in place can take it away.
Yeah, and then morally not.
So, sorry, Mark, you froze then.
Yeah, sorry. You still hear me?
You just come through again then. Yeah, you did freeze again then.
Okay, so I think morally at least you're directly funding criminal activity.
And that's it. And ultimately, where is that money going to? It could be an organised crime group. It could be funding terrorism. You know, so ultimately it is that, you know. So as I said, as a police service, we will always say don't pay it. As an individual, I wouldn't pay it anyway. If I was a business owner, I wouldn't pay it. And that's recommendations I make to my own family members who've got those businesses. So it's as simple as that, really.
Yeah. Okay. You mentioned about using public Wi-Fi spots in coffee shops, that sort of thing. What's the advice on sort of VPN and sort of what level that provides protection if you are wanting to use a public Wi-Fi spot?
Yeah. Ultimately, we are looking at ensuring that people are utilising VPNs. That will obviously protect you. And again, you know, using public Wi-Fi. Certainly, if you go into a coffee house, you just got to take a little bit of care. Sometimes it's asking the person, not just in the coffee house, that business, what is, you know, the Wi-Fi? What is it? So you're making sure you are logging onto the correct one. But a VPN can protect you. But the only thing we will say all the time is when you are utilising public Wi-Fi, just be careful sometimes. And I always look. I always edge on caution myself. And hence why I won't use any kind of online banking or any kind of information, sensitive information I really don't want to get in the public domain. I won't do it on a public Wi-Fi.
Yeah, certainly. Anything from you, Steve?
Yeah, I'd like to ask. I know it's probably difficult for you to say it all, but do you think the majority of cyber attacks come from overseas rather than within the UK? Because that presents its own difficulties, of course.
Yeah, it does present its own difficulties. Obviously, we've only got back to an individual, Daniel Kelly, that 18-year-old boy living with his parents from his bedroom, who hacked into TalkTalk, one of the major communication providers. So we have got hackers in Wales. It's as clear as that. It has become far more organised criminality. So you may have someone based an organised crime gang who is employing people who've got cyber skills and utilising them to target businesses, and they could be based in the UK. But ultimately, yes, it can certainly come from overseas as well. I think historically, it started from overseas, but ultimately now we are seeing a lot more in the UK as well.
It certainly has no borders, does it, Paul?
It certainly doesn't at all. It doesn't, and more importantly, the main thing I really want to stress today, I started in the beginning of the presentation, is no matter who you are in your personal lives or your business lives, if you're a sole trader, if you're that small organization, you will be targeted. You know, you will be targeted. We are just trying to help you not become a victim. Okay, so everyone's going to be a potential target.
The other thing as well is I see this from my own sort of personal life, especially, you know, with perhaps members of the older generation who are possibly vulnerable to sort of scams and attacks historically. How important is it that just people not only take care of their own sort of security, but also educate, members of the family community on these type of attacks? I suppose that's something that you really promote, and it builds up the resilience, amongst communities.
Yeah, definitely. Going back 5 years ago, I'd be honest with you, my father was a victim. Albeit he didn't lose his life savings or nothing like that, but he was a victim, and how he was a victim was just, it frustrated me because it was something just so minor. He thought he'd won a bit of a competition, taking a couple of things, and it just frustrated me. But I saw the impact it had on him as well. And we come across a lot of people who are vulnerable themselves and they feel quite intimidated, even though it could be someone from overseas. Having been forced onto the online world can be intimidating for a lot of people. And when you think you could be a victim at any time, it can make a lot of people, quite vulnerable. So certainly the information we give out to businesses can be used in your personal lives. And I will always say, whatever we give out, please share it with family, friends, people in your supply chain. We just want to spread the word as best we can. And we just find as a police service, this is just one of the better communication methods we've got of getting out key messages, really. Obviously, we do a lot of work within policing in the communities around cybercrime. Each police force has got a cybercrime protect officer, and they do a lot of work in communities, looking at remote communities, maybe the hard to reach group as well. And that could sometimes be the elderly, who maybe not as visible in the public as other people, and we try and speak to them, as many people as we possibly can, to try and get our message out, really. But again, spreading our word to your family and friends is that way forward as well, because ultimately we all, including our parents, grandparents, all being forced into the online world. Even them, some people kicking and screaming, but ultimately they are being forced into it, and they just need that little bit of an education around the simple steps they can take. We try not to overcomplicate it. It's not too technical. It's not jargon. We just try to keep that simple message, really.
Yeah, and I suppose in this sort of area, prevention is your only means of defence, because there's not really a cure to this, is there?
No, as I said, we can't really stop people from being targets, but we can try and stop people from becoming victims. I think we said right at the beginning when we spoke to you both early on, 25 years ago, the police service would go to a business or go to an individual, discuss to them about their window security, door security, the importance of closing the door, locking up at night and things like that. Traditional crime has been on the decrease. People have got that message. What we're trying to do here within cybercrime is crime prevention, trying to prevent people from becoming victims. And a lot of that is just through education. And there's people not doing something which can be prevented, because a lot of cyber attacks can be prevented. Okay.
Yeah, thanks, Paul. That's great.
Yeah, and then finally for me, really, you spoke about passwords, making sure that you've got uppercase, lowercase numbers, characters, etc. And I guess part of that is having different passwords for every account rather than password 123 for everyone. I guess the really important one to make sure is belts and braces is your email, because that's the keys to the kingdom, isn't it? Because any password reset requests go back to your email. So if they've got that, effectively they've got everything.
Yes, and that's it. Yeah, a spot on that is Matt. Yeah, passwords for different things, but the most important one is a password that can get into emails, because ultimately, if you want to reset any kind of password, it's coming back there. That's
it. Yeah, superb. Thank you for that, Paul. That's really useful, and I know that businesses watching this back will get a lot from that. So we'll publish the video later today. So for the benefit of those watching this on playback, the next month's Power Hour is going to be focused on recruitment challenges, given the challenging labour market at the moment. So we'll be focusing around that. And then on the 10th of November, we'll be hosting the first of these events in person. So we'll be holding an event called Power Hour Live on the afternoon of 10th of November at Sketty Hall, and further details of that will be published on our communications, email, social media channels. So keep an eye out for that. So finally, thanks again to you, Paul, for that session. That's really, really useful. and we'll have another one of these sessions next month, and look forward to seeing hopefully more of you in person at that event there. Thanks.